Like I said, on this channel, we're not going to shy away from the hard stuff, so we're going to talk about money. Most of us chose medicine to help other people, and yes, sometimes I think that you lose sense of like the feeling that you're actually helping anyone, but it comes back. And I mean, there's so much good within our specialty, within our career. Hi everybody, happy Saturday. I thought today we could do another couch chat where we talk about the joy in medicine, finding that joy again, and if it really does get better after becoming an attending. This is clearly off the heels of my last video where I talked a lot about why people are quitting medicine, and I talked a little bit about if I would quit medicine. And if you did watch the whole thing, thank you for watching that video. I said that I would not quit medicine, but I feel like I can only make that decision now as an attending. And I do feel like it has gotten significantly better for me, but let's talk about it. And I hope you have a warm beverage. Today I'm having this green tea. I even brought this over, this one. It's so good. It's so good. So let's get the beverage and let's get into it. The first thing I want to talk about in finding the joy in medicine again really starts before you even start residency. Actually, it starts like sort of throughout your medical school process, and that is choosing a specialty that actually resonates with you. You have to choose the right specialty for you. Now, there is choosing a specialty in theory, and then there's choosing a specialty in reality, right? Like, theoretically, I think it would be fun to be a surgeon. I would love to be able to actually fix things, you know, like fix things with my hands, as people say, and I don't know, help someone feel immediately better as soon as surgery is over. And it just sounds like, in concept, like a very amazing specialty, and it is, of course. But in reality, it requires a lot of early morning wake-ups, it requires a lot of call, it requires obviously a lot of training, but so does everything else. And I don't think that the lifestyle would be worth it for me. And I don't know why in medicine, we shy away from this idea that we talk about money and lifestyle, because that's really like how you're going to avoid burnout and how you're going to avoid losing doctors in the future before they, before like they really want to end their careers and retire. People will quit because they just don't find fulfillment. So it really does start with just finding the right specialty for you. I alluded to this in my last video where I talked about everyone telling me like, why radiology? Do you hate people? Like, do you not want to see people every day? Do you love being in the dark? Like, truly the sentiments are the same every single time. And it could not be further from the truth, right? Like, no, I actually do really like people, but I do like being alone sometimes. Like, can we admit that? I enjoy being able to shut the door and get my work done. And yes, despite 1,000 interruptions a day, you do get to sort of shut off the outside world for a little while and just sit down and help your patients sort of in a one-on-one setting. And I think that it's amazing. And when you talk to other people in other specialties, they sometimes come off like, well, I would love to be able to sit there and just do my work and drink my coffee. And you're like, you know what? Yeah, I do like to be able to sit there and drink my coffee and do my work, because that's why I chose radiology. Like, I knew that was something that I liked and that it is something that I would want to do. And when you look at the people that are in radiology, you will see a lot of people that are very old and gray, they are still working. And that really speaks to the longevity of the career, because it really is conducive to a long career. I mean, now with the increasing volumes, people are getting burned out like at higher rates than ever. But in general, it's just a good specialty to continue to do for a very long time in your life. And many of us chose this knowingly. Now, of course, there's also the flip side in radiology, and I'm picking on radiology because it's my specialty. But it's true for everything. Like, there are going to be people that go into it thinking that they could have more patient experience, or they want something that they're not getting. And that's fair for them. And I think that everybody needs to make a very informed decision. And so my point in all of this is to say that what specialty is right for you is very personal. And if you really want to find joy in medicine, you're going to have to find the right specialty. And that might require doing a lot of soul searching, but also rotations, and not just rotations in like general surgery and in certain like big fields like internal medicine, but you do have to go into the subspecialties, even OB. Within every specialty, you're going to find a subspecialty that could resonate with you more than others. I'll give you examples within radiology. There are specialties and subspecialties within radiology where like IR or breast imaging, where you could be patient facing a lot of the time. In fact, probably majority of the time, you're probably going to be talking to somebody, at least half of the time. You're going to be seeing patients. You might even have a clinic in IR. But then there are other subspecialties where you might be doing 1 or 2 procedures a day or less, maybe 0, or you're working from home and you don't have to do any procedures. And you're just churning out cases and you're just reading and you're by yourself and you have a dark room and you're just churning out your cases. And so there is a huge variety even within radiology about what you could be doing. And then the same thing goes for different subspecialties in other areas. I would say the lifestyle of a general OBGYN is probably much different than someone who does reproductive endocrinology. And right, that's right. It's not going to be the same. And within medicine, like internal medicine, you could be doing, I don't know, you could be doing rheumatology, probably a little bit different than doing interventional cardiology, but still you start in the same place as an internal medicine resident, right? So if you are already a resident or you're somebody who's thinking about medicine or you're in med school, just remember that you're not stuck. You can always change specialties. And if you are in a specialty and you don't want to go through the whole thing of residency, of course, understandable. Different subspecialties will have different lifestyles, and you don't have to be just stuck in one. You can always change. There's no reason why you have to feel like you cannot shift, you cannot change the direction of where you're going, because the main thing is having happy, healthy doctors. That's how we're going to have a happy, healthy society, and that's how you're going to find fulfillment in your work, is if you actually enjoy it. So remember that you can always change, but obviously make an informed decision about what you're going into, because it's so much easier to do it at the beginning than later on. That brings me to my next point, which is that even if you are in a subspecialty that works super hard, or it's not a great work-life balance, there are ways to make it better. The trade-off is always going to be money. Usually at the end of the day, it's usually money, less work for less money. There are ways to work less hours, less days, half days. And then there are locums, where you could just work for a week at a time, here and there, and sort of actually sometimes make kind of an equivalent salary as a full-time doctor, because locums do get paid in general more per day. So there are options if you are feeling stuck, or if you're feeling like there's just no hope or no end in sight of what you're doing. There are ways, and I will guarantee that your employer, well, I can't guarantee because sometimes hospitals do silly things, but I would say that most employers want to keep you on as a doctor rather than hiring somebody new. And so if you go to them and say that you want to cut down on your FTE, your percentage worked, number of days, then probably they would be very open to that idea rather than losing you altogether and you having to find a new job. So definitely options within medicine. It's not this idea that you have to be working all the time, work like crazy, continue, hamster wheel situation until you're burned out and you don't want to even go to work the next day. Like, we have to remember that our own wellness is equally as important as the wellness of our patients, and you can only fill someone else's cup from a full cup, right? So you have to fill your cup first. So for me personally, I have done that by choosing a subspecialty in radiology, which I know is in general less call, because that was very important to me. I also just like the subspecialty, but I knew that breast imaging was in general less call than things like IR, obviously, for obvious reasons. But at the same time, I also have chosen to take jobs where I don't have to take call, because there are breast imagers that do general call, that do evenings, and I don't know how many people are really doing overnights these days, but some people do still do overnights. And for me, holidays, evenings, weekends were a big no. So I took a job that did not ask me to do those things, and then I also asked to go part-time. So I only work 3 days a week. And all of those things have contributed to finding happiness again in medicine. To be clear, I was never really unhappy in medicine, but I do feel like after residency, things have gotten exponentially better. And yeah, why don't we get into that part next? Like I said, on this channel, we're not going to shy away from the hard stuff, so we're going to talk about money, and I'm going to be honest that, yes, of course, it's so much better to get attending salary than a resident salary, and I don't think that anyone should be lying to you about how it shouldn't matter in these things, because of course it matters. I think money is like one of the most important things that our society values. When you finally get to that attending level of salary, it does totally change the way that you live your life, and you can live your life. You can finally outsource things that maybe you couldn't before. You can finally start investing or saving in ways that you couldn't before. You can pay off debts in ways that you couldn't before. I mean, these are obvious, right? You have more money, you can do these things. You can spend a little bit more frivolously if that's something that you're interested in doing. You can invest in your children's education. I mean, there are so many things that can happen when you finally have a little bit of room within your budget. On top of that, I would say that all of these things come with a sense of relief, because you don't have a sense of like, do I have enough for that? You don't have that stress looming over you of like, do I have enough? Do I have enough? And I will say, even honestly, as a resident, I didn't even have the mental capacity or time to think about my finances in such a deep way that maybe now I can, because I actually have time. And I will say that having more money in your budget, having a higher budget, does give you time, because you can outsource so many things that you couldn't do before. And that just depends on what you like to do and what you don't like to do. But if you don't like to cook, you can outsource cooking. If you don't like to, I don't know, clean your house, you can outsource that. It just gives you a little bit more flexibility, and you're essentially just buying back your time. And you have to decide what your time is worth. So, I mean, it should go without saying, but for some reason people shy away from saying it. But yes, of course, having a much more, I don't know, substantial salary for going from trainee to attending does matter. It does make a difference. And I think that it really gives you a lot of mental freedom. And of course, that's going to be one of the biggest ways that your lifestyle will improve as an attending. It just gets better. One thing that I have really appreciated after ending residency and starting my new jobs is like a sense of autonomy, and autonomy over my schedule. So there's one thing about like autonomy at work, like yes, you definitely get more respect at work, which is really nice actually. It's nice to actually have an opinion that is valued and is respected by your colleagues, especially when you're like subspecialty trained. It's nice to have that sort of like edge on the other people that you're working with, or if you're talking to surgeons or other specialists, like it's nice to sort of be that person. But on top of that, having autonomy over your schedule has been probably the most important thing for me, aside from, yeah, it's probably the most important thing for me, is just being able to say like, no, I can't work that day, or no, I want to work 3 days a week and I don't want to work more, or I don't want to take call, or I would rather just not do these things, which is obviously not a choice that you have in residency because you're a trainee, obviously. For obvious reasons, we do have to train to become doctors, so I'm not saying that it's wrong, but it is nice to now, finally, 6 years later, have some sort of, control over what your life looks like, and say, I would like to block off this weekend because I want to do something else. Like there was one day I wanted to take my son to Disneyland, and I just said that this is the day we're going to do that, and I don't want to work that day. And they were like, okay, we'll make it work, So those things are like, I didn't even know that I could do those things, and I was like, can I just have this day off just to do something fun with my family? And it's just really nice. It gives you, again, a sense of like, I don't know, it just makes you feel valued. It makes you feel like people actually care about you as a human and not just as a worker, although that is, again, going to be job dependent. I think it's been really nice to just have that control back, control over my schedule, control over the things that I want to do. And then, of course, as you sort of progress through your career, some people say that they're not going to read certain studies. You may only do certain surgeries if you're a surgeon. You may only do certain things in your clinic as if you're in a clinical specialty. You get a lot more control over the things that you want to do and what you don't want to do. And that all, I think, helps you sort of find fulfillment in your job, because you're no longer being asked to do all these things that you don't want to do. You're no longer dreading waking up and going to work. You're no longer like, I don't know, it really gives you a different lens of your job and of your life. And I think that people fail to realize that when they are leaving medicine so early on, because you get a lot more control back after you finish your training. And I do think that it's obviously important for all of us to learn how to do everything in medicine, because everything is so interconnected. You never know when you're going to be asked to do something, or if in a pinch you need to like in radiology, if you need to see a complication of something, it's important that you understand what happened and what went into it. But at the end of the day, it's nice to have the control to say well, I don't do these things, and we need to transfer the patient, or I need to call my colleague who does it, or something else, make sure the patient is taken care of, but I personally don't perform these procedures. And that is a nice piece of control that you just don't have as a resident. And these are all small things that just give you a sense of like autonomy. They give you a sense of control over what you do, over your job, and over your life. So it gets better. I don't know how else to explain. Like it just gets so much better. It gets so much better. Another thing that just makes everything better once you become an attending is just having more time to do the things that you love. Spending time on your hobbies, spending time with your family, or whatever that looks like for you. Like I said, like filling your own cup. That's the most important thing. And I think that's probably one of the biggest things that makes attending life so much better than residency. I can't even remember, like, I mean, in fellowship, I think I put up maybe 2 videos on YouTube, which I don't know if you know, but this is like one of my main hobbies is social media and putting up YouTube videos and making stupid little content like this. But yeah, I couldn't do any of it as a fellow. I didn't have the mental space, the mental energy, or the physical space even. I did it as a resident, which was great, but it was still not up to like a standard that I would want to do. Even still, I'm still learning, but at least now I feel like I have the time and energy to learn how to do these things. I have time and energy to set up this little corner and make a video. I have time and energy to make dinner for my family, and I get to actually enjoy these things without an idea of like call looming over my head, and the reason I say call is because I remember as a resident, the only time I would have to like do a lot of, I don't know, there were like times when I would be doing something and I would remember that I have to go into work at 9 p.m. And that was like the worst feeling ever. I just hated that feeling so much. And so now just knowing that that is not something that I have to do, man, it just, yeah, it's like a huge just relief, right? It's a huge weight off of my shoulders to know that I don't have to do that anymore. And being able to spend time doing the things that you actually really love is very important to your own wellness, to the wellness of you, like your family and your patients even. So that's another way that residency just does not compare to being an attending, because you don't have the time. I think in residency, when you do get those pockets of time to do the things that you love, it's just harder because you're just more tired, you're more run down, you probably have a shift coming up soon, whether it's the same day or the next day. It's not the same, you don't have the same freedom, you don't have the same mental freedom as you do to actually enjoy the things that you love. Versus now I feel a lot, like a huge sense of mental freedom to be doing the things that I love and still working and still, you know, getting a good earning and still being a productive member of my group and trying to contribute, you know, to my patient care. But I still get to do these things. I get to hang out with my son, which is super fun. He's so cute. And I feel like I don't have to miss out on the things that I don't want to miss out on. So yeah, it just gets so much better. And I don't know if any attendings actually watch this, but I have seen a lot of things on social media that talk about, oh, my job is so bad. I'm missing like this. I'm missing all of these things. And because I have to work, right? Because I have to work, even as an attending. And that goes back to A, choosing a specialty that works for your lifestyle, and B, finding a job that really also understands your lifestyle and understands your needs. Because I think that there will be days where I want to go and visit my son at school, and you know, they have like a Friendsgiving this year and I want to go to that, and those things happen at like 10 a.m. They don't happen in the afternoon, they don't happen in the evening, they happen in the middle of the day. And making sure that you communicate your needs to your superiors, to your bosses, I don't know, to the people that run your group, that is like something that I have communicated very, very thoroughly. I'm like, well, there are days when I have to do something, and people are super understanding, especially, at least in my group, people are understanding. So yeah, just a lot of communication, but it gets better. People are understanding, and people have kids, and making sure that you take the right job for what you want out of life is extremely important in your own wellness. And finding the joy in medicine, let's go back to that a little bit. Another thing that makes attending life better than residency life is just having a lot more time off. And I mean this not just from the day-to-day, you know, not having to be the first person in and last person out, but also meaning literally number of vacation days. In radiology, some people literally get 12 weeks or even like 16 weeks, I've heard, off every year. Obviously, those are like full-time. You're probably working really hard while you're there, but still a week off every month. I mean, that sounds great, and definitely way more than I'm getting as a resident. In residency, I got 4 weeks off a year, and that's really not a whole lot. So it's really nice to be in attending where you do get more time off. And yeah, you can go on vacation, you could just take a day here or there, you could just recharge, you can sleep, you can do whatever you want. But having that time, having just more time off, obviously will bring you a little bit more passion and give you a little pep in your step when you do return to the office. But man, the residency grind without a whole lot of time off does get really hard and really difficult. But having more time off, I can only imagine how it must feel to have 16 weeks off a year. I can't even think about that. But yeah, it does get better. It just gets better. I mean, I feel like I'm ending every single one of these little segments with "it gets better," just to show you that it's not all bad. It's really not all bad in medicine. I mean, there's so much good within our specialty, within our career. The stability, I talked about it in my last video. A lot of the comments also talked about just the job stability within medicine. Your patients are going to need you tomorrow. Your patients are going to need you the day after tomorrow, and they're going to need you next month. They will always be there for you. Our healthcare system needs you, and it's very rare, I don't know actually with private equity what it really looks like now, but it's not very common to get laid off in medicine compared to other fields. And I mentioned tech, but I've heard of tons of people being laid off from various jobs, and I know that in medicine, at least, the one thing you do have is stability. You have stability of salary, you have stability of just your job, you know that you're gonna get probably at least some benefits with your job, and that salary is not, it's not nothing. You are gonna make a good salary. So there are so many positives to medicine. It's not the easiest field, obviously. It's a very unfair system, but all of it gets better once you finish your residency. And if you are someone who's only in a 3-year residency, then that's even better because you're going to reap these benefits way before some of your colleagues do. Like I said, it took me 6 years to get here. It took my husband 6 years to get here. But once you're there, it is worth it. It's worthwhile. Patients are very grateful for the care that you provide. There's a lot of factors that go into it. You do have to find the right specialty. You have to find the right job. But overall, it gets so much better than it ever was in residency. And I hope that this video motivated you to keep going because in today's world, it just feels like we need more good, We need more good, and after this past week, I do feel like I need to continue doing more good. I need to continue being a good person, a good worker. I need to continue being in my specialty and being a female and being a radiologist and being educated and all of these things. I think they're all positive for our society, and I truly feel more and more motivated to continue forward on this path. Most of us chose medicine to help other people, and yes, sometimes I think that you lose sense of the feeling that you're actually helping anyone, but it comes back. And I really feel like right now I'm helping people, and I was someone who decided I was going to work from home full time, and now I'm actually sort of more motivated to go in once in a while because I don't know, I have that itch of feeling like I want to help people. So more directly. I am helping people from home, but I feel like I want to help them more directly. So I've been going in more, and I'm going in tomorrow, and I'm really trying to, I don't know, I just feel a new sense of motivation in my career and my job. To summarize everything I've said 100 million times already, it gets better. I hope that you continue on your path. I hope that you still see the reason why you chose medicine in the first place, which was to help people. I feel like that sense of purpose does come through once you are an attending, once you're established, once you've been in a place for a while, things start to get easier. And residency is not what medicine looks like. One of the best quotes that I heard that really summarizes this feeling is, you haven't actually learned how to be a doctor. You've only learned how to be a resident. And I think that is exactly what it is. Your experience as a resident is not the same as the experience of being a doctor. And it's a short stint versus a very long career ahead, hopefully. So thank you all for watching this very long video. I definitely rambled on there, but I appreciate that you stuck around till the very end. If you did stick around to the very end, I have some interesting news, more like a personal update for you. Not that anybody really cares, but if you do care, like I said, once you become an attending, you have more time to invest in yourself or into your hobbies or whatever it is, and you also have more of a budget to do so. So I actually decided to start a course on just like YouTube and like learning how to be a better creator, because I have a lot of fun doing this, and it just seems like something that would resonate with me. I'm very lucky that my income does not depend on the success of my YouTube channel, so I'm not somebody who that necessarily like has to succeed at it, but I definitely find a lot of joy in it. So if you see changes to my channel, or you see me trying something new, or you see something that you're not used to, just know that that's why. But yes, if you have any words of encouragement, I would really appreciate it. I would love if you leave me a comment, and of course subscribe to my channel and subscribe to my Substack. I think that's where I'll probably talk about my experience as a part of this new like YouTube journey that I'm going on. So yeah, I would love to connect with you all in other ways. And yeah, I will see you all in my next video. Bye.